Alright, thanks for joining us again for my coverage of the Budo League. I'm Gunter, and joining me is the Sumatsu Clan's Tadahisa. How you doing today, dude?
Pretty good, Gunther. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Today's matchup is between the Virus Clan's Team 2 and our Ronin team. Representing the Virus Clan is Mark the Shark, and representing the Ronin team is Simon. This is the second set in the matchup between these two clans. The second replay of this set is gone, but there is a third game, which means whoever wins the first one wins the second one, and whoever wins the third one wins the set, or something like that. Let's just go with it. I'm going to show you both anyway. Unit compositions, Tadahisa, go for your life.
Well, you can see that Mark the Shark has a couple of Naginata Monk units, which is a bit unusual seeing as they've been nerfed recently. Most players don't take them, but I personally think that's a good choice because they get the war cry. And you can usually punch a bit of a hole in your enemy's line if you manage to get the two war cries going at once. He's got some Katana Samurai for some depth and melee. He's got two muskets, so that's going to be very useful for him. I'd say just looking at this build, at some point he basically intends to rush. And he only seems to have one unit of cavalry, which I think is probably his one weakness with this particular build. He has one unit of archers, which is also another weakness. So he just basically wants to get into melee really quickly, get his guns firing into the flanks and center of the enemy army, and try and win it from there. And with the other army, let's see, who is this? Simon. We can't see much at the moment, but from what I do see, he has two Katana Samurai, he has a Naginata Samurai, two Matchlock units, a Monk unit, and a Odachi unit. So yeah, I think he's relying on the same sort of tactics, but I think he's a bit better equipped to do them because he's got more cavalry than Mark the Shark. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens. At the moment, Mark has the ranged advantage, bizarrely, despite the fact he only has one unit.
Well, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what Simon has hidden.
Yeah, so we might as well just get it started. We should both be paused. We'll start in 3, 2, 1, play. And we should both be underway. We are, of course, again on rice fields, ever popular, probably never going away. Unless the dev team decides to just add a massive hill in the middle or something, making it not rice fields.
Wait,
Then no one will play it.
There is a second unit of cavalry in Mark's army. I didn't see that before. So yeah, it should be pretty even. Very similar builds.
Another great guard here hiding up the back in the trees there, so yeah. Almost identical builds, actually.
Let's see, I think Simon has a melee general, so that's very good if your focus is on winning the cavalry fight, because he can give a few buffs to your cavalry units. Whereas Mark's general is a leadership general, which in my mind is more useful in the infantry fights. So yeah, you really have to change the general to suit your style of play. Well, let's see what's happening.
Now, Simon's being pretty aggressive with the cavalry straight away. He's moved them all the way up the flank and then standing them there, including his general.
Risky. I think he's seen the matchlocks. We have to by now. But it's very risky for him to attack the flank with his cavalry because, for the obvious reason, the matchlocks will shoot him.
Not to mention Naginata Samurai and Great Guard standing there waiting to fend him off.
Mark the Shark is just shooting the matchlocks of Simon there. That's the risk of just taking matchlocks. A couple of players do this, but I'm not a great fan of it. They just go all out for matchlocks and not bother with bows at all.
And of course, these are matchlock warrior monks with extremely good range and extremely good damage, so one unit of archer warrior monks is going to lose that fight.
Yes and no, yes and no. Hello? The hidden cavalry have merged, I think. Wait, no. They're still hidden.
Now, unit of Great Guard have flanked around the back and have gone after two units of matchlocks from Monk the Shark, ran into a Great Guard, and Yari Samurai, and Naginata Warrior Monks as well. And the general is about to be caught by the Great Guard from Monk the Shark.
So this is very risky for Simon, because he's exposed as general, and even though he's a melee general, he can still die. A lot of players assume that they can't, so...
And the unit of Katana Cavalry coming around Mark the Shark's left flank, trying to get in there and do as much support as possible. General charging straight into the bulk of Mark the Shark's army for some reason. That includes Naginata Warrior Monks. I can't imagine that this was a good choice.
Yeah, this is a bit disorganized on the part of Simon. And actually you can see Mark the Shark's muskets. Yeah, his general.
The general just got killed. So this is going all the way bad for Simon. Extremely bad decision charging the general in there all on his lonesome. His army is falling apart straight away.
Yeah, you really need to keep your general with your troops if you can. You shouldn't attack everywhere at once, ideally. You should use part of your army to pin and the other part of the army to attack. I think Simon's basically tried to do both at once, so that means his general has been on the other side of the field. It's also meant that his general's very exposed when he's trying to micro. And this is always a bad thing, because they can catch you out with matchlocks. Mark really hasn't had to do a whole lot to win this either, he's just had to basically pivot. So it's been much easier for him.
Yeah, so extremely one-sided in this first game, but because we know there's a third game, so I mean Mark the Shark wins this one, which means he must have lost the second one because there's a third game. So we are all tied up going into the third game of this best-of-3 set. Okay, it's game 3 in this best-of-3 set between our Ronin team Simon and the Virus Clan's team 2, Mark the Shark. We have just worked out that because of the patch, these replays may be anything on the sliding scale from slightly misleading to completely wrong. So if that's the case, do speak up in the comment section below and let me know. Anyway, this is game 3. The winner of this will take the set. It's the rubber match. Joining me is Tadahisa. Tadahisa, unit compositions if you please.
Well, I'm looking at Simon's army because, well, we saw the first defeat, and I think he's definitely changed his army composition to take into account the lessons that he learnt in the first match. So rather than taking matchlocks that forced him to come forward, he's got some bow warrior monks, so he can ideally shoot Mark the Shark's matchlocks before they can hurt him. He's got some warrior monks, which I think are basically a matchlock substitute because they have a really potent hit to enemy morale when they get into melee. He's got some longsword Ashigaru, which are good if they've got enough chevrons, but I'm not so much a fan of them anymore. He's got some katana samurai, some Naginata, so it's a bit more balanced. His general is still a melee general, and he has the 2 units of Yari cavalry on the flank. I'm assuming that he probably has some more cavalry in the woods to the right. Moving over to Mark the Shark's army, it's very similar to the first one. The only real difference is the addition of 2 bowmonk units. Looks like these are the ones with extended range. I can't stress just how important it is to put extended range on your ranged units. It really transforms them into something far more dangerous. You can generally outshoot enemy ranged units in a ratio of about 2 to 1 if you have that extended range.
Yeah, talking to Kuro, he says flat out having bow warrior monks with extended range is the key to winning a game of Shogun 2, because it allows you to dominate the field in such a complete way with a huge range.
I might dispute that. It's not the be-all and end-all, but you definitely need 1 unit, I would say, of extended range bow warrior monks if you want to win a skirmish fight. Otherwise, you're basically going to have to concede the fact that you've got to move forward. Anyway, other than that, he has a Yari samurai. He has 1 Nodachi, 1 katana samurai, some Naginata. He's got some cavalry in the woods, some more cavalry out in the open, and some warrior monks. So very similar to his first lineup, just with more archers. Okay, so I'm ready.
Alright, let's get this underway. Winner of this wins the set. We should both be paused. We will hit play in 3, 2, 1, play. Should both be underway now. We are not on rice fields, much to our joy. We are on Sanriku Ria, which is, you know, lots of hills, trees running up left and right, patch of trees in the middle to hide in. Good to see a different map. It'll be interesting to see how these players adapt their strategy accordingly.
For these new maps, you got to be very careful with the tree lines because there's always going to be cavalry moving through those. So just assume that if you can't see your enemy's cavalry, they're going around your flank through the trees.
So
that's what I think Simon's cavalry might be doing.
Yeah, and
So if I were Mark, I wouldn't be having those bow warrior monks quite so far out. Well, as you can see, he's backing them up.
both players slewing over to the left to get into that, well, it is Mark the Shark's left. Left on the camera, over to get on this high ground Mark the Shark's going for, and of course the trees on his left flank. And the high ground and the trees on Simon's right flank. So it'll be interesting to see where the hammer blow will fall.
I think Mark really needs to start moving up that cavalry because I'm not sure
sitting
where,
all by himself back there, not doing much.
Cavalry's going to go.
Simon is moving his 2 units of Yari cavalry wide left into the trees, probably just having a little scout, make sure nothing from Mark the Sharks is there, but he's going to find out that nothing is there indeed.
On Simon's right, he's moving cavalry through those woods.
Yep, we
I
just
think
saw
he
briefly.
had a bit of a lapse of attention there, and his men have revealed themselves. But
We got 1 unit of Yari cavalry emerging out of the trees now, going straight after the ranged units. It seems probably not going to survive very long. There's a unit of Matchlock warrior monks there.
yeah,
Probably
he's
going
pushed
to
his luck here.
shoot a volley, and here comes a unit of katana cavalry to try hold them off. And he does wisely pull them away before they get shot at.
I think a lot of players in this game tend to waste their cavalry. You've really got to keep it alive right to the last second. So it's good what Simon's doing. He's just keeping them out of fights that he can't win, looking to attack units that are vulnerable.
Now he's charging the Yari cavalry at the katana samurai, but a unit of Yari cavalry from Mark the Shark comes up to fend them off, and he does pull them back again. So this is good false charging from Simon. I really like what he's doing here.
This is much better than the first game. In the first game he committed his cavalry too early, exposed his general too early. This is much more cautious and much more skirmish oriented, which I think is the way he's going to have to play up against Mark.
Simon is now moving the bulk of his army forward and further into the trees. A bit safer up there on the high ground in the trees. Mark the Shark being mostly static at the moment, but he is trying to send his cavalry forward. It looks like he wants to pick off this Yari cavalry unit from Simon, and Simon does pull it back.
Okay, so you'll see that Mark's basically decided that the left flank on his side is free of cavalry, so he's moving his skirmish troops up a bit. So you can see the muskets and the archers.
Yep, and just in case, he does have an Aginata Samurai unit there, ready to fend off any cavalry he may have missed. So that's pretty smart play from Mark the Shark. And now Mark the Shark is moving the bulk of his army up to his left flank, into the trees, up on the high ground, mimicking the movement of Simon.
It's really good to fire with bows from a wood, because you get cover, obviously. If you don't want to shoot against a superior enemy force at the moment, you can just hide your troops, and they're still there. And the best thing about it is that your opponent knows that they're there, so he can't really move his own bow troops elsewhere. So it's a great way of pinning the enemy skirmishers and going around their flank.
Right, now Simon seems to be moving in his Yari cavalry on the other flank. There's 3 units that are all alone, but Mark the Shark does have his Yari cavalry ready to try to keep them away from the main fight. And the skirmish has begun at the main front.
Attention lapse? Or is it a trap? Let's see.
I don't like the odds in this cavalry fight for Mark the Shark. It's 3v2, and a unit of longsword does appear out of the trees to come help. So Mark the Shark does have a unit of katana cavalry that can come in and fight.
And if you look on the left, he's losing the skirmish.
Yep, so he is. That unit of bow warrior monks down to 11 men from 75, wavering, probably going to be fleeing very soon. Unit of Matchlock standing there, about to take a charge from the Naginata Samurai, which is charging forward. Are they going to fire a volley?
And if you look on the flank, you can see the Katana Samurai that are moving around the ranged units. It's a very smart move.
As for the cavalry fight, it looks like Mark the Shark actually completely routed that entire Yari force, so he's not paying attention though. They're chasing away the routers. He should be turning around and sending them back, and he does realize that, and he's turning them around now. He needs to get them into the fight, otherwise this is going to be very bad for Mark the Shark. He's going to lose.
So yeah, Simon's a bit of a disadvantage. He didn't have any spears backing up his cavalry, and I think that was really essential if he was going to win that fight. Anyways, you can see there's a melee starting on the left flank.
We've seen a war cry go up.
Losing quite badly.
Yep, the war cry's going up from Simon, and now these units are starting to waver and flee. Or the matchlocks are anyway. Mark the Shark's cavalry needs to come in now. And now Simon's units are starting to flee. Wow, okay.
Now, this is a mistake. Simon sent his melee general after Mark the Shark's one, and he hasn't seen, or he hasn't looked for the hidden Yari Samurai. And it's true that melee generals are immune to spears if you've got the upgrade, but they're still vulnerable because they can't easily hurt a spear unit.
Right, so now it's all a big
got
mess.
31 out of 36. And Mark, if he's smart, will try and send whatever cavalry he has left to try and kill the enemy general. And actually, this is swung. This has really swung in Mark's favor.
Yes, I suppose it has, but that unit of Yari Samurai that's fending off that general is routing and fleeing.
But look at the center. He has some Nodachi veterans, Katana Samurai veterans. He still has both units of spear troops, and he's got the cavalry advantage at this point, so... Unless Simon can really charge... And
he's now charging his general into the ball.
I can see those Katana cavalry winning this for Mark. He's got to move them fast.
He's moving them over right now as fast as he can. This is really on a knife edge. This fight's going to decide the game.
He's charging into the back of his general.
He's sending Katana cavalry after the general. Very slowly getting there through the trees. And the general,
very close.
The general is now wavering. That is, Simon's general is now wavering. Rally's about to drop. War cry's about to drop.
Yep, Mark's got it.
Only just a real knife edge he was on there at the end. Wouldn't you say?
Yep, I'd say that.
Okay, so that means that Mark the Shark goes up 2-1 in this best-of-3 set, taking the second set for the Virus Clan's Team 2 in this Budo League competition. Tadaisa, thanks for joining me, man. It was good.
Yep, sure. It's good games for the guys involved.